This is the Dynasty Roundtable podcast. Tonight, we are going to be discussing the Patrick Mahomes injury and what it means for Dynasty. And we're also going to be talking about Dynasty stashes. And everybody has a different definition of what a stash is. So it's like Dynasty stashes / players to acquire to make your team better, or the SEO friendly way or the algorithm friendly way of saying it might be players that are gonna skyrocket up the rankings or something like that, something clickbaity like that. But it'll be good information. It'll be clickbaity, but it'll also be good information. So anyway, Matt Babbage, how you doing? At Babbage_Matt10. Go follow him on Twitter. Go follow him everywhere he goes except home. How you doing, man? What's going on?
Doing great. It's we're getting to that time of year. We just had Thanksgiving and we're at that kind of, little over halfway point to where we're almost at Christmas. So the holiday season is an incredible time just to, be thankful for what you have. This is usually the time where you start looking to give to others. So it's a nice, I feel like we need this time right now with, for whatever reasons are going on, it's been happening for years. People are more bitter towards each other these days, but it's these times that tend to warm our hearts a little bit, open us up, and we start spreading the love and joy that we should be throughout the rest of the year. So take this holiday season as a time to think about how you act towards others, and let's all do better to carry that into 2026. Except for when it comes to JJ McCarthy.
Good Lord.
No. I'm kidding.
Hey, back-to-back weeks of 20+ fantasy points for JJ McCarthy.
All right. Doesn't care. He still doesn't. He had an okay game against Dallas. He's still, look, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. He is proving I'm so right. Like, he can be an above average quarterback. Like, he's not going to be this stellar game breaker, 7th, 9th overall pick, whichever one he was. But it is interesting yet again, he has a decent game, and now the JJ McCarthy fans want to tweet about JJ McCarthy. So
yeah,
it's just, I'm going to be here giving you my take. If he continues to ball out, if he continues to progress, and I will come out here and I will say that I am wrong.
Well, you and Justin Jefferson are both in the same corner these days, because
that's got to be the barometer, right? Like, he made some good throws, but holy crap, man. Like, if you can't get it to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. But can I tell you a trade before we get going? And we don't have to talk about this too long because we have a big topic to get through tonight. A trade that's going to make your head explode, and then I'll try to rationalize why I made it. And I made it with T-Rock. So shout out to T-Rock in the South Harmon Goodbye Canton League. So we did, and the context behind this league is we threw it together impromptu at Canton at the FF Expo. Shout out to anybody I met at the Expo. And I may have had a few gummies, and I may have forgotten that I needed quarterbacks in a 2-quarterback league. And so the trade is, so I just drafted like all the wide receivers I liked, like, Travis Hunter, Rome Odunze. I ended up getting Jamar Chase and Puka Nacua. Anyway, it's a pretty good team, but I missed the playoffs. So I traded Travis Hunter and a 3rd-round rookie pick for JJ McCarthy and a 2nd-round rookie pick. Yeah, fair? Not fair? I was expecting more of a polarizing reaction from you because you like Travis Hunter so much.
I do like Travis Hunter, but
we both like Travis Hunter so much. I mean, I shouldn't just say you. I mean, we are very pro Travis Hunter.
I think there's two lever. Like, I feel like I'm at this point, I am open to being, kind of wrong about the value of both of them, like where they currently stand. I guess I should say where they stood when you made that trade, because this trade happened way back in
3
August.
weeks ago. No, it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Oh, they said the FF Expo.
No, we did the startup at the Expo, but the trade happened. I'd have to look exactly.
Oh, sorry, I misheard.
Probably like 3 weeks ago. No, it was before he got hurt, so it was further back than that.
I mean,
So
they
anyway.
both decreased in value since then, right? Probably proportionately to where they were at the beginning of the season. McCarthy probably has maintained more of his value than Travis Hunter did, but at the same time, Travis Hunter came into the season at a pretty low value, lower than where he had a really weird value curve throughout this season where he was just starting to rise back to where we think he should be and then started falling back down again. But I think it's fine. We're talking about a super flex team that needs a quarterback. So you need to be willing to take risks. And McCarthy is somebody who can be a starter in your super flex spot for quite some time. The athleticism factor matters a lot here. Because if he was a pure pocket guy and you had to rely on his arm week in and week out, I mean, the trade obviously changes a lot. But the fact that you got a guy that has a potential to have a 2 rushing touchdown kind of game, like a 30-something yard rushing touchdown kind of game, that matters a lot. It's a lot of extra fantasy points. And in a super flex league, the most important thing you can do is make sure that you're getting as much points out of your quarterback position as you possibly can every week. So I don't generally hate on trying to go out and get a solid, QB1 or QB2 in a super flex league, even if it means you pay a little bit of a premium.
All right. I got some positivity from Matt Babich on JJ McCarthy, at least the archetype, the idea of JJ McCarthy.
I mean, Brock Purdy's a really good
JJ McCarthy himself.
Like, why can't he be a little bit more athletic, Brock Purdy? You're gonna make a great career for yourself. Brock Purdy's a great fantasy quarterback, but if they could do it over again, I don't think Brock Purdy would have been drafted at the 1-7. Actually, I don't know. That's actually an interesting debate that we don't need to go into. Drop a comment if you think that if they did that rookie draft over again after, the first 2 years of Brock Purdy's career, if he would have been a top 7, first round pick, top 10 first round pick.
Like in the NFL draft or in rookie
draft?
Like
if they redid, the Caleb Williams, Drake May draft, we go back in time.
Brock Purdy
we go back in time, but we know what we know about the player.
Okay. Yeah, I would assume that Brock Purdy would have gotten taken ahead of JJ McCarthy if they knew what they knew going into that draft. If they knew if he was on the caliber of prospect in that I don't know, but anyway, I don't know. I don't even know if what I'm saying or if we're skirting.
Let's get to the.
All right, Patrick Mahomes.
I took us off the road there.
Patrick Mahomes. I don't even know if I understand the question, to be honest with you, but Patrick Mahomes injured, out for the year. Now, from what I'm seeing on Twitter, it looks like he is claiming that he will be ready at the beginning of this next season, 2026. I'll believe that when I see it.
He'll probably miss a game or two, but he'll be close.
So my guess is they will sign some kind of, either they'll trust Gardner Minshew to play, I don't know, 2 or 3 games, however long it takes, or they'll bring in like a Mac Jones or something like that.
They have to trade for him.
Yeah, that's true. But
maybe Brissett.
No, Brissett's under contract as well. So.
Well, I mean, it's a lot easier to trade for if you're going to go that route. It's going to be a lot easier to trade for Brissett than Mac Jones.
I think the Cardinals are going to hang on to Brissett and get rid of Kyler Murray. But anyway, neither here nor there. Patrick Mahomes, quarterback 6 right now, 19 overall according to Keep Trade Cut. I'm going to put you on the spot. What are you doing with Patrick Mahomes right now? It's obviously past the trade deadline, so there's not much we can do until the league calendar flips over. So maybe you don't have a trade deadline. What's our approach to handling Patrick Mahomes here? Do you just have to hold and hope he's ready for 2026, or are you trying to get out?
I mean, right now I'm a hold. I'm not going to be on a sell for this. Mahomes still, even after this, he's going to have, maybe not right away, mind you, but he's going to have, the similar rushing upside. It's not something he wanted to prop his game up by. He runs kind of when he feels like he has to, which is a good trait of a quarterback, but I think that's going to stay to where maybe, through the first half of the season, maybe even all through next season, he doesn't quite feel as comfortable making those runs. But, long term, given his athleticism and what we relied on from a rushing standpoint. Not worried there. I think things get better with the Chiefs offense. I think we've seen kind of the worst that this offense is going to be. And Mahomes was still a pretty reliable asset this year. So I'm going to let his value fall a little bit, especially after the offseason and after his name kind of falls. That maybe it won't fall out of the news cycles throughout his recovery because he's Patrick Mahomes. But as that kind of time goes on, his value dips a little bit. We get into rookie draft season. I'm willing to buy Patrick Mahomes. He's still the most talented thrower of the football that is active, barring maybe maybe Matthew Stafford at this point. So I'm going to buy into him. I don't know what happens in terms of like Andy Reid and other members of the coaching staff, but they know if they want to get back into the Super Bowl conversation, they're going to have to fix this offense. And if this is the worst we see from their offense, I think we can be pretty happy with Patrick Mahomes going forward.
Yeah, I think we've seen the Chiefs do this before, albeit the year that they made it to the Super Bowl, their offensive line just was atrocious. And then you saw them completely rebuild it the next year. So a question that's floating out there in the national media is this a rebuild or a retool for the Chiefs? And it's like, I don't think that this team is necessarily bad. They're just losing a lot of close games where they were winning those close games before. I mean, welcome to the National Football League. And, Mahomes was throwing too many interceptions. Things were just not bouncing their way. But Patrick Mahomes, at the right value, of course, I think his value is gonna fall down like with this injury. Yeah, at the right price, I'm probably buying him. But to be honest with you, I don't know if I'm enthusiastically going out and just trying to acquire Patrick Mahomes because I think he's in the right bucket of players right now. To be honest, I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on with Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts is quarterback 8. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation for another time. Justin Herbert's right behind him at quarterback 7, according to Keep Trade Cut. I feel like that's appropriate. Caleb Williams is sneaking up there. Jackson Dart, we've talked about sneaking up there. I mean, he's ranked ahead of those guys, but those guys are also nipping at his heels, especially, Caleb Williams and Jackson Dart with their mobility. So I don't know. I like if you gave me a little bit of extra something on top of, a even Jackson Dart scares me a little bit with the concussions, but Caleb Williams, I could maybe get there, but on the whole, I'm probably holding. I think that's a long way of saying I'm holding, not necessarily rushing out to buy him right now because I do think the price is going to come down. There's one more thing I was going to just throw at you, but I completely forgot what it was. I know that makes for great podcasting. If I think of it, maybe we'll do it at the end.
Yeah,
anyway.
We'll go through the stashes real quick, and then if you remember it.
I remember what it was.
Okay. That was
Joe
quick.
Burrow. Joe Burrow was in the news for making some really strange comments about that seemed kind of Andrew Luckish. So are we worried about Joe Burrow, or do you think he's gonna do you think it's more likely that he retires or gets traded or stays in Cincinnati?
Even if you would have told me right before Andrew Luck retired that I could buy Andrew Luck in Dynasty at a discount because people were scared that he was going to retire, I would have traded for him. I'll take that risk at any point. No, I'm not going to be panic selling Joe Burrow. I think it's more I don't want to play in Cincinnati anymore than I think he's tired of losing, not like what's happening like to his body and everything. Like I think he'd go out there and die if it meant trying to win a game. Like if they were in the Super Bowl and he knew he might die, he'd go sprint out onto that field. So I think this is different to where it's not like I'm getting battered and bruised. I just don't think I like this anymore. Burrow's like, I'm okay with getting battered and bruised, but I want to do it on a winning program. Like I want to be out there winning. I want to have a front office that puts us in a situation to win. And I think I think the rubber is going to meet the road at some point. And he's going to want out of Cincinnati. I think he already does, but I think he's going to say that he wants out of Cincinnati.
I came across the perfect destination for him on a team that has multiple first round picks in this upcoming draft. What if the Rams decided that what if Matthew Stafford retired and they just decided we're going to throw every single first round pick we can at the Cincinnati Bengals for Joe Burrow, including 2 in 2026, including a top 10 pick. I don't know. I think that would be
I think
ideal
Les
for Joe
Snead
Burrow.
would go down as the greatest executive of all time.
Yeah,
Probably.
Let's hope that happens for everybody that has Joe Burrow. And I just completely disagree with you. I wish Andrew Luck would have told me about his retirement, because I definitely would have traded him before he retired, and then I would have looked like I would have been the Les Snead of my dynasty league. But that's neither here nor there.
No, what I'm saying is if we didn't see Andrew Luck coming, like people are trying to pick up on these, nuances and clips from Burrow now. So it's like if we played this same saga back in Andrew Luck and he was saying things like this, I still would have, and someone was worried like, oh, I don't know, Andrew Luck's talking about not having fun anymore. I'm going to trade him because I'm worried that he's going to like walk away early. I still would have made that risk. It's like I'm not gonna be afraid of somebody like up and walking away in the middle of their career until they go out on that podium and say it, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I suppose that's a good distinction to make, but still, I would have appreciated a phone call. Thanks for nothing, Andrew Luck. All right, let's get into our topic tonight, which is dynasty stashes. So to define this at the beginning, and you tell me, Matt Babbage, if you disagree, these are players that we are looking to acquire that maybe they're not on the waiver wire per se, but they're definitely way undervalued. I mean, I think the highest player that's ranked that I have written down here is 116 according to Keep Trade Cut. So these are players that are clearly outside of the top 100, clearly outside, like a lot of them are outside of the top 200, top 250. So these are players that you can buy on the cheap, or that they might be available on the waiver wire in shallow formats. Hell, some deeper formats, they also might be available. So I'm going to get us started tonight by talking about a player that you're going to have to go out and trade for, but I'll talk a little bit more about the value that I think he might have next season, and that would be Bashul Tutin. And I know that this is not flying under the radar anymore. Like, we've kind of gone through a roller coaster up and down with Bashul Tutin, especially like he caught a touchdown pass this week, so he's not flying under anybody's radar, and he's probably going to fly up the rankings. But I think he's still worth going out and getting, because he was a day 3 pick, but he was an early day 3 pick, and we knew that he possessed elite speed. We knew he was a pass catcher at Virginia Tech, and Travis Etienne is a unrestricted free agent next year. And assuming that they don't resign him and they don't add another running back, Bashul Tutin's going to be the starter next year. And if he's the starter in Jacksonville with the Liam Cohen offense, the way that guy likes to design plays, I remember when we were making fun of him, Dan Campbell, like, for saying Duval in a very goofy voice at his opening press conference. I think coaches, really brief aside, that have the confidence to do something goofy in their opening press conference, Nick Sirianni, Dan Campbell. Well, Nick Sirianni was just awkward. Liam Cohen, that's a good sign, I think. But anyway, Bashul Tutin, I think, could be the Jacksonville Jaguars starting running back in 2026. And if that's the case, you're going to want to buy him, because if he enters 2026 redraft season as the starting running back at the top of the depth chart, he's going to be a 6th round redraft pick minimum. I mean, anyway, I think he has the potential to rise up the rankings. Now, if they go out and sign somebody or draft somebody, obviously that craters his value, but risk reward. What do you think about Bashul Tutin?
I like Tutin. Etienne has been playing really well this season, and that's what kind of scares me. But even through that, Tutin has earned more opportunities. He's looked, just as good on a smaller sample. I think he could be doing the same things that Etienne is doing with a larger workload. They did draft him with a purpose, so it's only, a matter of time before he starts carving out more opportunity for himself. It's not great that he's going to be inactive, in this closing stretch of the season, but it's a good stash for sure.
All right, I'm going to throw it right back to you because you have another running back, another rookie running back from 2025 at the top of your list. So take it away.
Yep. So, you did a little mini video on this. Check that out on the channel. And so I came into this sheet a little behind the 8 ball. You already had like 20 names in here.
Yeah,
So
it's fair.
I had to get a little creative, but Caleb Johnson, it's gross. All right. I'll be the first to admit it. He's listed as RB41 on Keep Trade Cut, 152 overall. I don't think that's where the market sentiment's at. I don't think the market sentiment would value him as an RB41. I don't think the Caleb Johnson owner has had to hold on to him all year and see his game logs all year or lack thereof is going to truly value him at RB41. I think you could toss a pretty late pick. Maybe having to throw in like another one of these like lower level stash type players in the deal to get it done. But we're talking about an early 3rd round pick or mid 3rd round pick who was a pretty highly touted prospect out of Iowa, had a 80 plus percentile target share, 80th plus percentile yards per carry, and 99th percentile college dominator rating per player profiler in college. It's been a very slow start for him coming into the league. There were some things he had to work on coming in. And Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell have outperformed their expectations. At the very least, Kenneth Gainwell has outperformed his expectations on that team. So, again, it's like Tootin, but it's a different case to where he hasn't really been showing us much. I think the value is going to represent that. But at the same time, this is a mid 3rd round pick who, at some point, there's not many of these guys who never get opportunities, especially at the running back position where injuries are so common and it's so easy to find yourself in a situation on a week-to-week basis where you're getting more opportunity. A receiver coming up the quarterback can simply throw to other people. If you're the running back that's healthy in the room, you're going to be getting touches. So I'm willing to take a chance on a guy who, after one season is face planted and the market maybe have given up on.
Yeah, so Caleb Johnson, he's actually fallen down further than when you wrote him down on this list. He's at 173, RB43.
Which is crazy because I did this at like 1:30 in the afternoon.
So it must have just updated.
Like 6 hours ago.
Yeah. So it's wild to think that this guy was perceived to be, could split carries with Jaylen Warren, could take over the starting role. And then the next thing we look up and he's returning kicks and he does that thing that, cost them the game where I don't know if he touched the ball on the kickoff or we had a debate about it. I don't think he touched it. And then they recovered it in the end zone. Didn't know that you had to go get the ball and, physically take a knee in the NFL. And this is an old school coaching staff too. Mike Tomlin, Arthur Smith. They're not going to trust a rookie right away. That's just how they fly. But there's so many things flying around the Steelers this season that have been fascinating. You have Aaron Rodgers as a placeholder at quarterback. Who knows what they're going to do with Mike Tomlin? They're probably not going to fire him. They never do, even though their chance now raining down at certain Steelers games like fire Tomlin. And I do think that they need a reset as a football team. So there's so many factors at play here, but the upside of Caleb Johnson, I watched Iowa football closely, and the reason I was in on Caleb Johnson was because Caleb Johnson was all that Iowa had on offense, and the opposing team knew it coming into the game, and they still couldn't stop him. He kind of reminded me of Derrick Henry light. I never compared him to like 1-for-1, pound-for-pound Derrick Henry because nobody is like that. But Caleb Johnson, very similar. And you knew, at least I did, at least I thought with the pass pro, it was going to take him a minute to gain the trust. And looking back on it now, it's like, man, the Steelers were kind of a bad fit if you wanted him to succeed right away. So, yeah, I love that call, though. I love the upside of a Caleb Johnson, especially at his current price. He's right next to a J.K. Dobbins or a Sean Tucker, like sandwiched right in between those guys, according to Keep Trade Cut. And the upside, I think he could fall further down that list as we, start to forget about, the lore that was Caleb Johnson entering the 2025 NFL draft and the landing spot that a lot of people thought, ooh, this is pretty good. So I think that's a really good call by you. I guess I'll keep it going with the rookies. And it's a guy that we both like. And it's Brashard Smith, who's currently ranked outside of the top 200, according to Keep Trade Cut. 201 overall, RB 51, although that could have changed. Let me just double check. Actually, he's down to 204 now. So this is another player that could fall. 7th round pick. We thought he could go higher, but he was kind of a victim of the really deep class. And, a lot of these teams just kind of let it, including the Chicago Bears, by the way, who look like they could have found something in Kyle Monangai. But Brashard Smith, obviously, Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt are not cutting it. Both of those guys are unrestricted free agents in 2026. We liked a lot of what Brashard Smith did in college, but he was a wide receiver for a long time before he transitioned to a running back. And in his one and only season at SMU, he was really effective. But you would think that he probably has a lot to learn from. And the Kansas City Chiefs are another one of these teams, old school coach. It's going to take a rookie a little bit of time to get on the field. So Brashard Smith, I think the Chiefs are going to add a running back, but I think Brashard Smith, if he has a good training camp next year, could find his way in a committee depending on the caliber of running back the Chiefs add. Now, if the Chiefs go out and draft Jeremiah Love, then forget about it. Brashard Smith is like a third down scat back at best. But if their solution is, I don't know, sign, I don't even know if Aaron Jones is a free agent, but an Aaron Jones-esque running back, then you could see Brashard Smith have a 40-50% snap share potentially, depending on what they want to do. So what do you think? Brashard Smith, good call, bad call? What are your thoughts here?
No, I still like Brashard Smith a lot. And I think a potential, if we want to, maybe the Cowboys don't sign Javonte Williams or something like that, just to add another example, or like a Rachaad White, someone like that. But I think this is the crux of the issue that I've had with the Kansas City offense comes down to how they've been using their playmakers. Like they have this weapon in space in Brashard Smith, and I don't know what their fear is if, we're worried that we're going to telegraph, because obviously if Brashard Smith comes in, the defense is going to think, all right, it's a good chance it's a pass. But it's that dynamism to where like he can succeed on the ground. You bring Pacheco in, they're not worried about him catching passes. And they're going to lean more run. And Kareem Hunt, again, they're not really worried. Defenses aren't worried about Kareem Hunt or Isaiah Pacheco. So maybe, sure, you're not necessarily telegraphing what you're going to do by bringing in your satellite back, but you're also sacrificing offensive efficiency because you're having subpar playmakers in there. And you have a guy who's average, 5 yards per touch, over 5 yards created per touch per player profiler, 2.27 yards per route run, which is really good. Granted on unlimited touches, but when you're getting 2 to 3 touches a game, you can't really expect a whole lot. But you look at a couple of cases where he's had that opportunity. He had at least 3 catches in 4 straight games. So he had 4 catches, 3 yards, 36 total yards in week 4, a carry with 3 receptions and 36 yards in week 5, 3 catches for 21 yards in week 6, 5 catches for 81 yards. Or 81 total yards. Sorry, these are all total yards, not just receiving yards. 5 receptions and 14 carries for 81 total yards. That was against the game in Las Vegas, which granted that was out of hand, but that's what we thought. We were like, okay, cool. Like Brashard can do this. Start working him in more. And they didn't. They continued to move away from him. And then back in week 12, he had 3 catches for 36 total yards with 1 carry as well. I just don't understand like why you're not trying to work this guy in more. And maybe it happens in year 2. I'm willing to take that bet based on his value because I do think he is very talented. He just, the Chiefs need to accept that he has a role within this team. And instead of saying, well, he doesn't have a 3-down skill set, so we're not going to use him. No, it's 2025. Figure out how to use your playmakers.
Yeah, I wouldn't I kind of hope that they give him more run this year. I mean, why not?
You
You know, I mean,
should if they're smart. You're out of the playoffs. Like throw them in there.
You're out of the playoffs. I don't think you're bringing back Isaiah Pacheco. I don't think you're bringing back Kareem Hunt. So why not see what you have in Rashard Smith? So, I mean, it makes too much sense for it to happen. So let's move to your next guy, and it's a wide receiver. So let's talk about him.
All right, I got a second-year receiver undrafted out of Holy Cross. The Cokeheads are going to love this one.
Cokeheads unite, baby.
Coker. So he was one of the darlings in this offseason, and then he ends up on IR with a groin or hamstring injury, one of the two, and ended up missing all the way up until week 7, where he got a little bit of run and basically really didn't totally play until week 8. But going back to his profile real quick, he has very good college metrics, albeit at Holy Cross. Has a 98th percentile catch radius at 6'1", 208 pounds, 81st percentile arm length, 98th percentile burst score, which is one of the most predictive athletic metrics for receiver success. Best comparable, interestingly enough, Seth, Michael Wilson.
Oh,
a name that has been
there was
very
somebody.
hot
There was
so
somebody who Michael Wilson was their most drafted rookie that year. You remember that? You remember we did a show when we did our rookie port? Maybe we should bring that back. I don't know. Anyway, I don't mean to derail you.
We should probably bring that back.
I drafted 10 shares of Michael Wilson. I feel really, really good about that now. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So some of his advanced metrics have kind of suffered this year. This hasn't really been the second year that we thought we could get out of him, but chalking some of that up due to injury. And I think there's a little bit of an identity crisis going on within the receiving core in Carolina. Tet is obviously Tet, but I feel like they've been trying to work in Xavier Legette a lot more as their wide receiver too, but Coker is just so much better. So I don't know when the rubber is going to meet the road here, but you can see the tide kind of starting to turn a little bit. He's had at least 60% of the snaps in 6 out of his last 7 games. And the target numbers haven't been great, mostly 4 target games. He's caught a touchdown in back-to-back games. And so this is what we want to see going forward, just continuing being a guy that's going to be reliable, being the guy that scores the touchdown, forming that chemistry with Bryce Young. He's currently wide receiver 69, 161 overall. I think that's a really good spot to take a flyer on a guy where the Panthers offense has been much better than we thought it was going to be this year. I think second year of Dave Canales, that's not right. Third year of Dave Canales. I think things will continue to get better. We've seen, definitely improvement year over year from Bryce Young. So continue to build that offense out. And I think Jalen Coker is a good guy to take a bet on, given what we saw, kind of towards the end of last year, where, he had that 7-catch, 7-target game in week 18 for 62 yards. A few weeks back in week 15, he had 110 yards and a touchdown, 78 yards and a touchdown in week 8. So we saw those spike weeks last year. I don't think Ted McMillan coming in is the reason we haven't seen that. I think it's just this kind of battle between Legette and Coker, and I'm going to trust the talent here and place a bet on Coker kind of taking that number 2 target role next year.
I like it. And for my next, I'm going to kind of skip back and forth because some of these I'll read off that were in the video that I already published, which you should go check out. It's a shorter video. Some of these are going to be other stashes I couldn't fit in the video. So this is going to be one of those. And it's an oldie but a goodie. It's Anthony Richardson, who's fallen outside of the top 200 according to Keep Trade Cut. He's quarterback 33, 215th overall. And what if, Matt Babich, maybe I'm crazy, I probably am, but Daniel Jones obviously has a torn Achilles. He's going to miss the beginning of next season. What if Anthony Richardson gets an opportunity to be the Colts starting quarterback again? Either that, or the Colts are going to have to make a decision on Anthony Richardson. I mean, they're going to have to make it soon because he's under contract for 2026, and then they have the club option, which I'm assuming they're not going to pick up. assuming his career keeps trending the way it's trending. But I think with all these teams, and we've talked about it before, but there are so many teams that could be in the quarterback market. The Jets, the the things with the Dolphins. Oh my, like all options are on the table. Mike McDaniel. Yeah, of course, all options are on the table. Pittsburgh Steelers, Cleveland Browns, Colts, right? Colts. Maybe they go like outside and find another quarterback. Raiders, probably not the Vikings, but Panthers, Saints, Rams, Cardinals are all teams that probably, or at least are going to explore the quarterback market. Why wouldn't one of these teams take a chance on Anthony Richardson as maybe even a backup in a trade? I don't know. I think in my heart of hearts, some team out there is gonna look at him and go, okay, not a perfect prospect, definitely not accurate, but you know who wasn't accurate? And I'm not comparing him to this player at all, but Josh Allen wasn't accurate in his first 2 years in the NFL either, who was kind of a similar big physical quarterback, like a wild Bronco that you just had to tame and work with him and get his mechanics right. Now, I think Anthony Richardson's probably closer to a Cam Newton style, but it's a style that I think you can work with, and I think he's athletic enough, and I really think that there's a lot of untapped potential here. So getting him at this price, I mean, I might have like 100% exposure to Anthony Richardson, and if he just dies on my roster, so be it. It didn't cost me that much. So what are your thoughts here? Am I completely insane?
I mean, now the value's at the point where you should just be taking the shot. I mean, he's basically free. We're at the point where he's starting Phillip Rivers, and there's a complete blank slate going into next year. I mean, it's an Achilles injury. Daniel Jones is not going to be, it's not like an ACL where he could be ready for the start of next season. Even with the tightrope procedure, like we saw what Kirk Cousins was trying to come off of that. We saw what Aaron Rodgers was trying to come off of that. And it's just not something that statistically we can bet on Daniel Jones recovering quickly from. And he could play as early as this year, depending on how things shake out. So I'm with you there. And for my next guy, I also have a quarterback. Different situation, but one spot above Anthony Richardson when I looked at this. Jalen Milroe, quarterback 32. Sam Darnold has not been very good these past few weeks, Seth. He has not been very good.
It's almost like we saw this movie play out.
It's almost like it happened exactly a year ago
for
a different team. But that being said, you look at the contract, because the first thing people are going to think of is, well, Sam Darnold signed a 3-year deal. It's one of the reasons that he wasn't in Minnesota. Well, per Spotrac, they could get out of that contract via trade, via release as early as next season. So if they want to move on from Sam Darnold, where, I mean, you have Milroe on a rookie contract, so unless you need to free up that salary cap to go get other pieces to win a championship, there's also the possibility of just benching him and going to Milroe next year. They drafted him in the third round, back end of the third round. He was a prospect that was very interested in Alabama, especially given his skill set with his legs. I think he has his best comparable is Malik Willis. I think that's a joke. He has way more arm talent than Malik Willis does. Granted, that type of stuff doesn't go into the best comparable player for Player Profiler, so I'm not necessarily trashing that feature. Just stylistically, they are not really the same quarterback. From a fantasy perspective, with what he can do on the ground, if he is serviceable at all in the air and he's playing football games, he's going to be a valuable asset. So I think it's nice that we've had this really good year from Sam Darnold, but now that we've started to see, the house crumble down a little bit, we've seen that foundation start to crack. Now's the time to be buying Jalen Milroe, because if doubts start creeping in the offseason, that value is going to go up.
Yeah, and honestly, the players that I love to stash are, third string running backs. I'll take a third string running back over a wide receiver 3 or 4 any day. Young, upside. We've talked about a few of those already. And backup quarterbacks, on teams where you just never know what can happen with the quarterback. So I think that that's one of these scenarios that we definitely should target, and I think that's a great call. I'll throw out some more running backs here, and I think the Jets running back situation is fascinating. I think this whole Jets situation is fascinating with how that they're going to go about this rebuild, because clearly it's going to be a rebuild, and it does not make any sense for them whatsoever to re-sign Breece Hall. So either, and it honestly, it doesn't really make much sense for a rebuilding team to invest much draft capital money into the running back position, especially when you have Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis already on the roster. And I'm going to throw out Isaiah Davis because he's outside the top 200. And I think he's really talented. You know, Keep Trade Cut has him at 224 RB 61. That might have gone down since I looked at it last, but I think it's just somebody who's proven to be capable, and somebody they took in the 5th round, somebody that they're going to want to get a look at to see if he can be a part of a committee or maybe even be a starting caliber player. I understand Braylon Allen's in the way, but I mean, and you could even throw Braylon Allen into this conversation as well as somebody who's ranked far too low, because one of these guys I think is going to get a crack at the starting job. Now, obviously the Jets could jet and bring in, draft Jeremiah Love, or God, that would be horrible, or, sign a running back in the offseason. I don't think that they're going to do that with their draft capital. And I really think that one of these two guys, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, is going to get a legitimate shot to be a starting running back on, albeit probably a really bad Jets offense in 2026. But what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, he's looked good. He's taken advantage of the opportunity that he's been given this year. And I think at RB 61, 224 overall, again, targeting kind of ambiguous situations where we could see a guy like Isaiah Davis get a lot more opportunity next year. Those are the situations where the bet might not always pay off. Again, we're talking about stashes, people who are already pretty devalued anyway. So the whole point is kind of targeting the right situations and getting the people who have an edge versus other people ranked around them in the 200s. So yes, I like the thesis behind Isaiah Davis.
All right. Next up for Mr. Babbage is
Jack Besh.
Oh boy.
So it took a while, but the Raiders finally remembered that they had him on the roster. So it was good. The Raiders, they came into practice one day and they were like, "Oh, wait. You're the guy we drafted in the 2nd round." Aha.
Senior Bowl. Remember the Senior Bowl?
I knew we had drafted a receiver in the set, but I just couldn't remember who it was. I thought it was that Lockett guy over there. But he finally found it. So after he had a 3-game stint from week 5 to week 7 when he was getting a lot more snaps, not really a lot of targets. After the bye, went back into the shadow realm. Then the last 3 weeks, he had 56% snap share and then up to 82 and 81% snap share these past 2 weeks. Week 14 against Denver finished as the wide receiver 27 with 6 catches for 50 yards. Went back to earth against a little bit more of a stout Philly secondary who just throttled them. So they were out of the game from moment 1. Kenny Pickett at quarterback, not much you can do. So I don't necessarily expect a lot of popping fantasy performances from the arm of Kenny Pickett to Jack Besh for the rest of the season. But if he finishes his season getting 80th percent, snap shares, that's the type of opportunity that we want to see a guy like that have. Working out of the slot, I think there's a lot of benefit to him. I thought he was overdrafted at the time, but I liked the profile, agnostic of where he got drafted. So wide receiver 79, 197 overall. Again, I think that's a nice cheap shot on a guy who had a much higher value coming into this season, and it's only been 1 year. So a lot of my stashes, that I've been putting out here are rookies that have kind of free falled in their value, but probably weren't necessarily the right picks for guys who were going to hit right away anyway.
Yeah, I like this call because of the profile. He's 6'1", 214 pounds. Not the fastest guy, but I thought pretty technically sound as a prospect.
Mhm.
Obviously had a good Senior Bowl, which is kind of I think what propelled him up the depth chart. But like this is another situation where Raiders, why like I don't know why you would draft a guy in the second round if you're not going to play him over the next 3 weeks, right? It just doesn't make any like come on, like you're gonna hopefully you will see Jack Besh play a 60, 70, 80% snap share over these last 3 weeks, and hopefully they use him and we get to see what he just kind of like Brashard Smith, like why not, right? So hopefully we get a sneak peek at him to see what he can do over these next few weeks. But I'll take you a rookie wide receiver and I'll raise you a rookie wide receiver, and I'll go back to my list because I think Trey Harris is somebody I'm going to be targeting in trades, I mean, in really shallow leagues, he could get dropped. You never know what can happen once the 2026 rookie fever takes over and people have to clear roster space. He was selected in round 2 by the Chargers. So good draft capital. He has good size, 6'2", 205, highly touted. Chargers decided to bring in Keenan Allen, which kind of tanked his immediate value because the Chargers also had Lad McConkey and Quentin Johnston. But Keenan Allen's a free agent. He's probably not going to be back. And Quentin Johnston's not been as effective down the stretch as he was at the beginning of the season. And if the Chargers decide to move on from Allen, you would think that Trey Harris would be the guy that would be in the mix for 3 wide receiver sets. He might even beat out Quentin Johnston in 2026. I don't think that's outside of the realm of possibility. And you would think that the Chargers would also be pushing for Harris to have more of a role in 2026 as well, because I don't know, you spent a second round pick on him. So like, I just don't, it feels this value of him at 182 overall, wide receiver 72. It either feels like it's just going to just plummet even further down, like they just decide, oh, we blew the pick, or he could be a guy that just skyrockets up. It's the ultimate risk reward is it's not much of a risk and the reward could be awesome. So Trey Harris is on my list. Thoughts about that? Or we can move on to your next guy who's also a wide receiver.
Yeah, just quickly, I mean, we're looking at Keenan Allen kind of coming out of this offense, and Quentin Johnston has very quickly fallen back out of the graces of this coaching staff. I really don't necessarily know what happened there, but Trey Harris right now is the beneficiary. So especially if he keeps going on this track of getting targets like he has in the recent history, then this is a slam dunk. A guy who was drafted in the second round, who we both really loved coming out of college. Someone we didn't really necessarily love coming out of college is Isaiah Bond, and that's the next guy on my list. Wide receiver 80, 199 overall, very cheap. But we've seen now in 2 out of 4 games with Shedeur Sanders, somebody who's actually capable of throwing the ball downfield. I'm sorry, Dillon Gabriel, I love you. The supersonic strong arm that John Lobb was telling us about. I love
I
him.
don't know if he said that, but
he said he's got a strong arm, and he said he summed about how being wowed by his arm strength in person. Now, that's just poking a little fun at one of his evaluations. We liked Dillon Gabriel a decent amount, maybe not to where he got drafted.
I mean, he was a 3rd round rookie pick and he started games, and who knows what might happen with Dillon Gabriel. So I would consider that a W because
I'm poking a little fun, but the fact is that Dillon Gabriel does not possess the same downfield throwing ability as Shedeur Sanders, or maybe Dillon Gabriel just doesn't trust himself. Maybe he doesn't see the field well enough to trust himself to make those throws. I don't know which one it is, but the fact of the matter is we've seen 2 out of 4 of the games with Shedeur Sanders where Isaiah Bond has had at least 50 receiving yards. And last week in particular was interesting because he had a combination. It was the first, or I guess the second game since week 4 when he played at least 50% of the snaps and had at least 4 targets and 50 receiving yards. Had 68% of the snaps last week against Chicago, career high 10.9 fantasy points. He has that deep threat ability. I do think they need to get a little bit more creative and be able to use his speed in the short area and get him some easy touches as well as those deep balls. But he's somebody who's in a receiver room that is devoid of talent. There's nothing but opportunity to be had there by Bond, except for, Harold Fannin. He's obviously carved out a healthy role for himself. But outside of that, if they can get, somebody who they trust in the perimeter and roll Bond out as the slot and take the top off the defense guy, I think he could be their, Xavier Worthy that the Chiefs have tried to use, but the Browns have to do what they've done with Worthy and get better at giving him the downfield looks, but as well as, getting him in rhythm and getting some of those short area looks, some screens where he can take a catch and try and rip off, 6-7 yards. So they need to do a little bit better of trying to put him in that role so they can, see a little bit more dynamism from him. But I love what I see in terms of the big play ability, and enough of, lack of talent in the surrounding offense makes me want to invest.
Yeah, I like that call as well. A lot of upside with Isaiah Bond, another prospect that fell down the draft because of character issues. I think I can't remember exactly what happened. Some issue. I remember he was more like people expected him to go a lot higher than he went, and then he went undrafted, obviously. So, I'm gonna give the tight end position some love, and I'm more specifically. I don't know. I mean, Ben Sinnott, obviously Zach Ertz, horrific injury. So I would think that Ben Sinnott or Sinnott, I'm not exactly sure.
Sinnott.
All right. Now he's done nothing up to this point, like in either year, but it takes tight ends sometimes a lot of time to develop. He's got good size, profiles pretty well, still just 23 years old, and a tight end tied to Jaden Daniels on a team that I think has a ton of needs entering this offseason. And I don't we forget too. It's funny. I'm looking at this now. The second round pick in 2024. That wasn't that long ago. So I think I would be very surprised in this upcoming draft class if Washington selects a tight end. I think that there's going to be some opportunity tied to a good quarterback. I'll also throw out, and I included this in the video, Noah Gray. And I know it sounds crazy, but who knows if Kelsey's going to play in 2026. He's not under contract as of right now. And Gray has been the guy, even going back to 2024, he finishes a top 5 tight end twice that season. Now he hasn't done anything this year, but if you go out and pick up Gray, who's probably widely available, you could be looking at the Chiefs starting tight end in 2026, given the fact that they're going to have to bolster the offensive line and they're going to have to make some tough decisions at other positions as well. So I wouldn't think that tight end would be at the top of their list. And I'll also throw out the Rams tight end position. I like Terrence Ferguson. I feel kind of stupid because I touted Terrence Ferguson, and then the very next week, Colby Parkinson goes nuts. And Colby Parkinson's, he's going to shoot up keep trade cut. He's at 291 right now, tight end 40. Let me just double check if that's up to date, because it is up to date. 291, tight end 40, but that's going to go up after the game that he just had. And he's under contract next year as well, but also Terrence Ferguson, they took in the second round. So I think one of those guys, especially considering I'm not sure what I know Devontae Adams is under contract, but it feels like Devontae Adams always misses. I feel like he's the new Keenan Allen. He always misses like 2 to 3 to 4 games every year, and they're gonna need another pass catcher outside of Puka Nacua. So you could see the tight end position really become a factor in that offense. So there you go. There's 3 tight end potential, 4 tight end stashes if you include both of those Rams tight ends there at tight end. So I'll throw it back to you for your last guy, and you're going to the running back position.
Yeah, so I'll actually take another one of the guys on your list too, because I think it's fitting. We talk a lot about how sometimes our opinions will differ when we talk about deep stashes, but we have similar situations that we want to attack. Right now, it's the ambiguous behind Derrick Henry in Baltimore. And so you had already put Keaton Mitchell on there. I thought that was a great pull. So I decided to add Rasheen Ali as well because I think both are worth stashing at their prices. I'm actually shocked to see that Ali is ahead of Keaton Mitchell.
Yeah, that is
Um,
weird, but I agree with you.
I think I would prioritize Mitchell, but it's two different skill sets. One is the rusher, and that's Keaton Mitchell. Rasheen Ali, I do think can be a good rusher, but he is more of a pass catcher, as we saw in his 20-yard touchdown catch last week. There's obviously going to be some changes. Derrick Henry is not going to continue to, be as good as he has been in years past. We've seen the fall off a little bit this year. We'll probably see, at best what we're seeing from Henry again this year. There's going to be more opportunities in that RB2 role. Justice Hill had those opportunities. I don't know if Justice Hill gets brought back again. I think they have two guys that are very talented behind him, and I think it makes more sense to try them out than to have a 29-year-old Justice Hill in that backfield. So I do think that the pass catching side is something that the Ravens need. I feel like every time you see them run a running back screen, whether it's Henry or somebody else, or they have a running back leak out for a pass, I feel like there's always an explosive play that comes out of it because they're so run oriented. And I feel like it would be a lot more beneficial to them to start giving their running backs a little bit more targets and start having a little bit more of a dynamic offense in that realm. And that's where Rasheen Ali is probably going to be more serviceable in that pass catching role. But I think both have an opportunity to take more workload next year. Given the offensive structure and what we've seen so far in terms of participation, I lean Keaton Mitchell in terms of who gets that. But Rasheen Ali is right there, also has a unique skill set that he can use.
Yeah, I like that call because, Derrick Henry, it's crazy. Like that contract goes, I think, until 2027. I could be wrong. And he's 32 years old.
He's
Right
third. Justice Hill is 32.
No, I was
Derrick
talking about
Henry.
Derrick Henry.
Okay. I was looking at the sheet and you got me.
Sorry.
No, that's on me, not you.
So real quick, I wanted to potentially call a pivot, but no, Malik Davis for the Cowboys is not under contract. He's a restricted free agent in 2026. But either him or Jaden Blue, I think, are good stashes because if you go to Keep Trade Cut right now, and I'm typing in Malik Davis, and I'm not seeing Malik Davis on Keep Trade Cut. So either I have the filters wrong and I'll look stupid, or Malik Davis is probably widely available. And I'm not saying the Cowboys, I mean, it's Jerry Jones, so he'll probably make some stupid splashy move at running back. But both of those guys have legitimate upside. I would say Blue has more upside, even though I know he's kind of a knucklehead and he hasn't played a ton this year. But, Javonte Williams is not under contract next season, so there's going to be opportunity, assuming they don't bring him back. I'll also throw out some quarterbacks that I think are going to start games next year. We kind of already talked about Mac Jones, or at least I think we did when we mentioned Brock Purdy. Well, yeah, we brought up Mac Jones. So from weeks 2 to 10, he's averaged 17 fantasy points when he was taking over for Brock Purdy. And that includes 3 games where he finishes a top 10 quarterback. Jacoby Brissett. I think Jacoby Brissett's going to be the starting quarterback for the Cardinals as they transition to whatever life is after Kyler Murray, because they're already telling you that they're done with Kyler Murray, and Brissett's under contract for 2026. And I think the cheap contract is going to allow them to get rid of Kyler Murray. If they can't find a trade partner, they just cut his ass, just like the Broncos did with Russell Wilson. The precedent's already been set for that. So I think that there is an out there. And Brissett has been really, really good for fantasy. He's finished no lower than quarterback 12. I think that includes this week, but for sure from weeks 6 to 14. And he's averaging from weeks 6 to 14, 21.1 fantasy points per game. And when I looked this up, he was at 200 quarterback 31. And the next name I'll throw out, and you might call me crazy for this too, because I think that this guy's going to start games. Kirk Cousins, ranked 343 overall, quarterback 48. I think he's got some decent football left in him. And I think some team, maybe Kirk Cousins is the guy that is the bridge to Mahomes next year. But I think he's going to have some value, and he's basically free right now. So any final thoughts? Any other guys you want to throw out there before we wrap up tonight? I know I just threw out like 3 rapid fire.
No, I think we covered all 17 people on this list.
Yeah, there were more people on the list. Let's not lie. But no, maybe we did get to. Oh, Jalen Knoll was one that we didn't get to.
And then Devon Vele, but I think that's literally it. Oh, Noah Gray. That's
I mentioned.
No, you didn't mention Noah Gray. Yeah, that's it.
Threw him
it
in
was
my
just
tight end.
Devon Vele and Jalen Knoll.
Yeah, let us know who your dynasty stashes are. Let us know who. If you agree, disagree, click the like button. If you liked it, subscribe to the channel. Matt Babish, do you have any final words of wisdom this evening for the people?
22 stashes in an hour, Seth. That's what
Pretty good. We even went in depth too.
We spent 15 minutes talking about JJ McCarthy and Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow.
We wasted you didn't waste.
We love doing is we're like, all right, how much can we ramble on? And then, we're at 18 minutes. All right, let's see if we can get the show done in 42 minutes instead of 60. And we like to challenge ourselves here at the table. But you can follow us on Twitter at FF Dynasty Table. You can join our Discord. You can follow Seth at Seth_DIEWLOD. You can follow me at Babbage_Matt10. And stay tuned. Like and subscribe if you like the content. Let us know things you'd like to see. We're about to really be kicking into high gear with rookie content. So that's always a really exciting time for the channel. We're going to be doing a lot of really cool things with rookie content. So stay tuned.
Yes, I'm putting together a Jeremiah Love all 22 video right now. It's probably going to be out either late this week or early next week. I don't know exactly, but I'm just telling you right now, I think I'm in love with Jeremiah Love. I mean, he's got some work to do with pass pro, and he doesn't run like he runs enough routes out of the backfield. Anyway, we'll get into it, but so be on the lookout for that and more videos like that. Even if YouTube doesn't like them with the all 22 stuff, we could also go unmonetized just to get them out there. But those will probably be in some package down the road of some kind of YouTube membership, just because we have to pay for the film and blah blah blah. Anyway, so yeah, support the channel, subscribe. For now, everything's going to be free. For now, we can't always guarantee that that's going to be the case, but I think that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. Nobody cares about Aaron Rodgers. Until next time, be good, everyone, and we will see you later.